Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Friday live stream. So I got a lot of things to go over. Let's just jump right into it. So first of all, before we start talking about the depression or the depressing aspects of a relief rally and how I think they might have concluded, I just want to remind everybody that these things come and go. And the long-term philosophy that I have has not changed. And that was actually asked me about a week ago. Octo Jones says, Rob, has your long-term conviction of Bitcoin changed and why? And if so, give me a reason. And it's always been the same thing. No, as long as the government continues to debase our currency, meaning they turn the money printer on and they print massive amount of funds and fiat that gets put into the system. And of course, people near the spigot, which will be the big people, they get to soak up all that liquidity. My outlook for Bitcoin stays the exact same. So having said all that, I think the rally was pretty good. I mean, we get one in March, and we can see here the last 24 hours are down 4%, although over 7 days has been pretty good, up 4%. But of course, usually what happens is you start to get hit more so on the altcoins, and then Bitcoin takes a little absorption. And this just kind of keeps happening like we've been talking about. Either we're talking about here or in a live show. It's the same thing. We have a 4-year cycle, which, yes, there was some differences, but you can just see this in March. It seems like since 2013 to 2014, when we have a all-time high, then we have a midterm year, we have a nice little rally in March. And you can see it right here. It happens at the beginning, and then it kind of falls off, and we bleed out. We might get another relief rally sometime in July or August, but it's happened in 2014. It happened in 2018. It happened in 2022, and I expect it to happen again moving into 2026. So that's just an ideal. We'll see if it actually happens. But the economy itself also seems to be taking a little bit of a dip. U.S. employment rate came in, and the expectation was 50,000 lost jobs. Last time was 126,000. Looks like we lost 92,000. And the unemployment rate was supposed to actually drop from 4.4 to 4.3, but actually stayed the same at 4.4%. Again, this is Friday, March 6th. Hourly wages up just actually hasn't gone up. The expectation was for it to decrease, went up a little bit. Hourly wages year over year is pretty much the flat and or the same. And I have to tell you, these employment rates, I just want to see how they actually start to dive when AI starts to really cut into things. I've heard a lot of rumors, a lot of things that are going on with the corporations, and I don't want to say those here because it's kind of depressing. So we'll just see how it all plays out. But also, one of my favorite markets in housing, we're going to see that it's from Charlie Baleo, good follow over on X. It looks like we've got quite a reduction as far as percentage-wise in the home prices via Zillow. And once we start to see a reduction in home prices, now that is good for the buyers. Unfortunately, we have a ton of sellers. This is beginning to become a buyer's market. Now, of course, every city is a little bit different, and every sector has a little bit of an increase or decrease depending on where you're at. But across the board in the United States, we're seeing quite a drop. Look at that in Fort Myers. Wow, almost 12% drop. So you take that, U.S. economy, and then drawdowns. We're kind of like doing the same thing over and over again. Let me know what you think about that in the comments section. I see a little bit of a chilling. Maybe you see something differently, and you say, Rob, the economy is red hot because of this going on and these numbers and what's going on in my life. Put those in the comments section. I'm always curious to see what people are doing around the actual world and or the country. So we have that on the macro side, but there is some positive news. And this is one of the things that I don't really take a look at on a day-to-day basis, which is the Solana ETF flow. This is from Eric Balchunas, another good follow on X as well. Senior ETF analyst for Bloomberg. And he states Solana is down 57% since the Solana spot ETF launched in July. Imagine that. It's down. The price of Solana is down. I think we hit around $253, somewhere around there. Correct me in the comments. But we saw a drastic reduction in the valuation of Solana. And even though that happened, Eric reminds us that they did manage to not only accumulate 1.5 billion in flows, that's inflows to the Solana ETF, but not really give any of it up, which is contradictory to what we see with Bitcoin and especially the Ethereum ETF. You're going to see here from the far side, Solana ETF flows. Now, yesterday was a negative flow, but across the board, look at these flows. I got to tell you, it's pretty good. And then, oh, we don't have it down here, but that's pretty amazing for a product that has fallen off the face of the planet as far as valuation. Wonder what Ethereum's been doing. I'm gonna look at this. Yeah, not so great. I mean, across the board, I mean, you can see that there was, I mean, from 0 to here, but not too awful. And if we take a look at Bitcoin itself, wow, look at that. I did not know this, actually. I didn't take a look at this before I did the video, but that's quite a hit for ETF sell-off for yesterday. Looks like somebody was taking some profits, as well they should. So congratulations if you were holding the Bitcoin ETF and said, you know what? I think I'll sell $88.7 million worth of it. If you're in BlackRock or Fidelity or Bitwise and across the board, which makes this story even more enticing. You take a look at Solana, you only had 6 million sell-off. Wow. Maybe I should buy some more Solana. Anyhow, let me know what you think about that in the comment section. Not too bad. I see that's going on. But also getting into the precious metals real quick. This is from Bull Theory. Talks about how, now we know about Jane Street and the manipulation, allegedly, and they're being sued. That's not allegedly. So it looks like Bull Theory has another theory about gold. He says, look, they've reduced the amount of instances of what they're doing with Bitcoin, but now they've turned their attention to gold. And it says gold may have a dump algo set around 8 a.m. So the last 4 days, Monday at 8 a.m., gold down almost 3%, wiping out $1 trillion. That's a heck of a market cap. Tuesday, wiped out 1.6. Wednesday, 600 billion. Thursday, 720 billion. Well, are they at it again? Is Jane Street? Not really. We take a look here in the last 24 hours for gold. Actually, we take a look at 8 a.m. It was low, but I mean, from 5,111 to 5,090 is not much. And actually, it rallied towards the end of the day. So I don't really know if that's what's going on, but I just wanted to show this to you to remind everybody that when we talk about the rules, the very last rule underneath my big, enormous head, where it says take profits, the very last one there, I don't say that to waste my breath. I say that because at some point I want you guys to take some profits if you haven't done so already. And when you take some profits, you can actually breathe. You actually have freedom. It feels really good. And especially as the price starts to fluctuate and go downward, because then you start to cheer for the downward momentum. So I will just say this. Gold's a great play. Silver's a great play. Real estate, crypto, Bitcoin, all that stuff is great. It's just you have to be patient, but you never know what's around the corner and who is actually manipulating the market. Jane Street. So let me just think about that in the comments section. And then lastly, before we get into this little piece that we did, I don't know what's going to happen macro-wise. I don't know what's going to happen with the crypto market. I think everybody's got some pretty good educated guesses. However, you know, with what's happening in the Middle East and Iran and the military activities, I guess we can't call it a war yet, hasn't been put out there by Congress. But we can see that, of course, the narrative is one thing, but I think we know what it really is all about. And I don't know how that's going to de-evolve or what's going to happen into the market, but there's a lot of uncertainty. And because of that uncertainty, I'm just trying to temper expectations and give some reality here. And I will just say it's good to protect yourself. That's the best thing I can say. Now, I use iTrustCapital for protection. There's two things, and I'm going to delve into a third. The first one is a Roth IRA for my retirement account. Because what's great about a Roth IRA is that what I invest into Bitcoin, gold, and silver, and some namely altcoins, when I do that, I don't have to pay any taxes when I start to withdraw from it. That's the beauty of a Roth IRA. Also, because there's people around me that have lost massive amount, I use the custody account. And I got to tell you, after selling some Bitcoin, yeah, it actually happens, I have no doubts that the hoops that I had to go through to sell that and get it in my bank account, it is not possible for any of these scammers and hackers. You have to go through a lot of things, and I'm okay with that because I have a ledger, I have a TANGEM, I have premium custody account, And I have some, very little, on the exchanges. Very, 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 very little. Mostly it's in cold storage devices and premium custody account. But now there's one thing for this. And I don't know what your background is, who's watching this. If you are just a day-to-day worker, if you're a solopreneur, if you have a small company, if you're an LLC or a C Corp or an S Corp, iTrust just rolled out a treasury account. And what's big about this and what I signed them up for is I work with a nonprofit here. It's called Amigos de los Animales. And it's a 501c3 in Puerto Rico, an animal shelter. And I set them up with a treasury account because this other exchange that I tried to get them with now it's taken over 6 weeks. So they're able to do this and put it in. And I actually sat down with Jared, operations for a treasury account. And there was an interview we did. It's about 9 minutes or so. So just take a listen to this. We'll come back and we'll do a little Q&A. This is only if you are looking for a treasury account. And also if you are maybe want to do a trust. I don't know if you ever thought that you might live forever. Maybe you won't. And if that's the case, maybe you want to pass some things on to your heirs and not have to pay a boatload of taxes. So just take a listen to this. This is me and Jared talking. So again, what I want to do is bring in somebody who could really talk about what's going on with iTrustCapital. And thankfully, Jared coming back on for, I think, the third, maybe even the fourth time. So Jared, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me as usual.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. This has been like, I think 3 or 4 years in the making, something like that, to get to this point. And I always want to say this. I want to say thank you to you guys for doing the things you say you would do and getting yourself that bear market. When we lived through it in 2022, as everything was collapsing around us, you guys say, you know what? We're going to keep going on this certain path. We're going to keep making sure our customers are happy and do the actual right thing, even though it might be a little painful. And here we are on the other side. So I always want to say thank you guys for doing what you said you're going to do. I appreciate it massively.
We're very thankful to have such a great relationship with you over time. We are grateful for our clients, and we've always been a very ambitious company. We've also been a very risk managed company. So it's all about finding a balance to be able to have new products and new features for our clients to be able to participate in, while also making sure that we're always taking that risk into account to make sure we're not putting our clients in bad positions either.
Yeah, and that's a great segue to what we're talking about today, because as time has gone on, I've seen the dynamics of my viewership change a little bit. I see more people getting into their own businesses, their businesses, or I see people who have revved up their businesses and they're kind of looking at these different exchanges like, okay, this is great for me, to get into like Bitcoin, ETHEREUM, Solana, whatever. But for like my business, which is my main thing, how am I working with that? And you guys just had this, I don't want to say it's new, but it's new for me. And I was hoping you could, just come in here and talk about this premium custody treasury and how this works for businesses, LLC, S Corp, C Corps, entrepreneurs, and how they can allocate to this part, what the difference is between like, just say like the normal type of thing that what I do, which is a Roth IRA, or custodial services, which I've used in the past. So just give us like an overview of what this means, especially for people with, again, LLCs, S Corps, C Corps.
Absolutely. iTrustCapital has always had products for individuals, whether it's our premium custody account, a Roth IRA, a traditional IRA, a SEP IRA. We've always had accounts for individuals. People have asked us over the years, hey, I have an account with iTrustCapital. I'm very happy, but I believe that I want to be able to be allocated into assets on your platform because I want to get exposure to hard assets. I want to get exposure to cryptocurrency. I want to be able to allocate into physical gold and physical silver through a product like yours. But I also want to be able to do it for my business, for my trust, for my religious organization. In order to be able to do that, you need an account type that can accommodate a entity, whether it's a LLC, a trust, an S Corp, a corporation, a religious organization like a 501c nonprofit, anything that has an EIN, right, an employer identification number, needs a special account type. And that's what the treasury account is for. It's for people that have a trust, have a business, and want to be able to have the same investment philosophy that they deploy for their own personal capital and to be able to do it for their entity or business.
Gotcha. So real quick, let's say that I have a business, right? I own a car wash, something like that. And, I have an LLC a little bit on there. I'm like, you know what? I'm just taking my proceeds, my profits from whatever I'm doing, and I'm going to roll that into, say, like a traditional type of exchange. I'm going to use Kraken. I'm going to use Cash App or whatever it is. And I start to allocate like that way, but that's in my personal account. What are the benefits of going over and go, okay, you know what? Now I've got, well, let's just say I have a real estate company. I have a real estate company. I'm going to use those profits and allocate that and use your guys' services to buy gold, silver, Bitcoin. What are the advantages for me doing that as opposed to me just as an individual investor?
For me, it doesn't necessarily come down to the advantages as much as the reality that you can't commingle your personal finances with your business and trust finances. The whole point of having certain benefits for corporations and having certain tax advantages for entities is so you don't trickle that down and commingle it with your personal finances. And a lot of people have really specific setups, whether it be for liability purposes, for tax purposes, or just the fact that they think that it's more advantageous to have a separate entity for their business and for their affairs. They cannot commingle. So they need to have an account in which they can onboard their entity in order to be able to allocate for their entity into any asset class. And that's why a lot of the legacy financial institutions have specific account types to be able to onboard an entity as opposed to just adding something for your personal financial gain. So the commingling is a huge aspect that if you have your personal affairs and you have your business, you cannot commingle those two. And if you want to be able to take advantage of some of the tax benefits to being an entity, to having a trust, to having an LLC, you can't use your personal finances to put into your business account, and you can't take your business account finances, vice versa, into your personal.
Right. Gotcha. So let's take it one step further. So we have it in our, let's just bypass C Corp or S Corp type of thing. Let's say we have it in a trust. We have a trust, however it's been put up by the company. How does that work with actually passing that on later on in life? Like, let's say that you have a trust and this goes to your kids or it goes to your grandkids. When you have this set up with you guys, how does that work with going into family members as opposed to it's an individual and I have a will, that type of thing?
When you have an account that's set up through your trust, it's set up in a really specific way based on your estate planning and you and your family's personal financial needs. If you just have a premium custody account and you want to be able to add a beneficiary, which you can, our individual premium custody accounts, which are non-retirement accounts, you can add a beneficiary, and same thing for your retirement account. But any account that has a beneficiary, if you were to pass away, it goes to your beneficiaries, super simple. But a lot of people, that's not enough for their estate planning. They have really specific needs. They have really specific strategies, and they have really specific desires in terms of how they want their investments and their holdings to trickle down to their family during their lifetime and after they pass away. And in order to accomplish that, what a lot of families do is they set up a trust. And the trust is set up through an estate planning attorney. It's really specific in terms of who inherits the funds and how they inherit the funds. A lot of people only want for their children to inherit their funds when they're 30 years old. And if you pass away when the kid is 22, well, the kid has to wait 8 years. Sometimes they want for the kids to get a sleeve of capital at 27, another sleeve at 32. A lot of people make it conditioned on certain factors. So if you have those specific needs and desires as a family, you're going to establish a trust through an estate planning attorney, but often you need a special account type to own the investment account that you put funds into, right? So the trust has to own the account. The account has to be under the name of the trust. And then if something were to happen to you, we would work with your trustee of the estate of the trust in order to be able to get the funds out in the way that you desire through your trust.
Got it. Okay, well said. And then another thing comes to mind as we're talking about trusts and custody and things like that. With this that you guys have for the Treasury, how long does it take to set up? Because I'm going to tell you, I work with a 501c3 here as a nonprofit organization here in Puerto Rico, and I directed them to an exchange to have them set things up. I'm not going to say the exchange. People know the exchange already. I won't say it. And I will tell you that it's taken them over 5 weeks to get things from beginning to end, and it's not even ending yet. And it seems like it's just taken a longer time than it actually should. So typically, well, two things. Typically, how long does it take to set up something like that, like we just talked about? And the second thing would be when they do set everything up, how long before they can actually use it? And if they come through a stumbling block, is it just all emails and back and forth like that? Or do you guys have somebody they can talk to?
We try to get the onboarding for these treasury accounts done within 1 to 2 weeks. Some are going to be shorter and some are going to be longer. It's not necessarily dependent on any limitations on our side, but every single organization is set up differently, and there's different requirements depending on the type of entity that you have that we would need in order to run Know Your Business KYB on your entity. I would say the biggest difference between us and some of the exchanges that are out there, and this is why we've had so many funds and so many in-kind crypto deposits since we've enabled them last year, is because of our customer service. The proof is really in the pudding on that one. Most of these exchanges don't have an open phone line that you can call Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 5 o'clock Pacific on weekdays with no lunch break. And you can call us whenever you want to. Now, some people take advantage of that more than they should, but the phone line's always open. Our individual team members also have personal direct lines that they can give out to people as well. So I think that for me, when I hear this question, what I think of is, yes, we're going to go as fast as we can, but the realities are that some of these entities take longer than others to onboard, but it's never going to be like, oh, I emailed iTrustCapital on Monday, I haven't heard back and it's Thursday, right? If you are in a situation like that, you would have called us on Tuesday or Wednesday to check in on what's going on. And then our team escalates those issues very quickly to the compliance department to get an update. So I think when I think about that scenario, it's really unlikely that someone would feel like they're stuck in limbo, because ultimately we're super transparent with our communication because we're really easy to access.
Awesome. Well said, Jared. I'll be on board with that. I know everything takes a little bit of time, and the reason why you guys actually were able to get through 2022, like we talked about, is because you took the time to do the right things at the right time. So I'll take 1 or 2 weeks. That sounds pretty good. So everybody, if you're looking for more information about iTrust and all the different services that they offer, there's a link in the description. Also, if you go to the website, which is also linked in the description, there is a real phone number there where you can call that real phone number and talk to a real person. It's crazy, right? Yeah, these things are a little bit off, but that's what it takes in this world. So, Jared, thanks so much for stopping by. I appreciate it. Any last words of wisdom for everybody out there, especially in this market? You've been, I think it's like your 3rd cycle or something like that in crypto. So, any of that sage advice?
Be patient and always play devil's advocate. So if you hear someone say something online and they think that, oh, cycle is already bottomed, or it's going to bottom in Q4, or, super cycle, whatever opinions people might have, make sure you're always questioning yourself. You're always playing devil's advocate. You're always, kind of taking a risk managed approach to the market, so you're prepared for if it goes up or if it goes down.
I couldn't have said it better. All right, buddy. So that's it for today. Jared, thanks for stopping by. Everybody, let's jump back. Sorry about that. So thanks, Jared, for stopping by. We appreciate it. And he's right. We should be playing devil's advocate for everything that we hear, especially online, especially in any of the social media platforms, and especially you who are listening to me right now. Question everything. But again, there's a link in the description. We can go from there. So now, if you want to stick around, we'll do a little Q&A. I'll answer all your questions to the best of my abilities, and we'll go from there. All right. What is everybody's questions? Let's see. France here. Hello. Digital. So good. Macro proxy. This is a good question. He says, how can you be strategic to solve that issue? It's just there. Can't set a limit order or anything. Seems like a hidden fee. I don't think I can. There was a question about spreads for iTrust and things like that. Every different exchange has spreads. Some are reasonable. Some are just straight up awful. Some are just straight up robbery. Let's be honest with you. So with iTrust, when I sell a little bit, what I try to do is I try to do something like where I'll say, okay, let's do a conditional order, right? So let's say like the cost right now is 67,000 or whatever it is. I don't know what it is. So what I will do is I'll say, well, I don't want to pay the spread there. I'll just wait because it fluctuates. That's the beauty. I mean, volatility is opportunity. So with the volatility there, I'll set it for like 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 higher. And guess what? Miraculously, it gets filled. So that's what I do with things like that. And especially if I've got other places other exchanges where I'm dealing with high spreads, which I stopped dealing with that with Cash App and Kraken's reasonably well. So that's what I would do with that one. So good question. And let's see, what else do we have for today? I like this one. PX says, oh, isn't it a surprise, another pump and dump? As time goes on, and we're all in this crypto space together, right? We're all here, and people laugh at the idea of a community, but let's be honest, it is. It's like Crypto Investors Anonymous, I guess. And when you're in this spot and you've been around here for so long, you know that all this really comes down to is speculation and momentum. Let's just be honest with it. It's speculation, momentum. Now, there are better projects and there are worse projects. And the better projects don't necessarily mean that they're going to go to Valhalla and do fantastic. It's just all about speculation, momentum. So when these things go up, I implore everybody, and we've been talking about this since the collapse of 2022, which I made reference to Jared and iTrust. Once that happened, and we all started to realize, like, hey, nothing goes up forever, that's when I put those rules in. Those rules really have helped me a bunch. So taking profits. So like we talked about this, these relief rallies don't last forever. It's just a relief. And we'll bleed out, and then we'll do a little pump, and we'll go down. So just set some limits. Just set those goals that you have for yourself. And you're like, hey, you know what? I need that kidney. So I got to, take some funds out and just be happy with it. Once you take those profits, you never look back. Because the problem is with some of the people, like my friend Bobby, they'll keep looking back going, damn, I should have sold this time, or I should have sold that time. No, you already sold. Now you just need to keep walking and move forward. So I know, like, some people say, it's a pump and dump. But the people who are actually have sold and have been around here for quite some time, just waiting for it to go down lower. That's pretty much it. Let's see. Swiper says, is Airbnb actually profitable? First of all, Airbnb sucks. Airbnb is probably the greatest platform for people to find your short-term rentals. It's also the worst if you're an owner. And I could tell you stories all day long about it. They don't really care about owners. All they really care about is for people who are finding places, and they won't side with you at all. So if you are an owner, operator, Airbnb is great to get your name out there or get your property out there, but it sucks, and they take massive fees. You're looking at 15%. Don't even give me part of the taxes, and also don't give me started with like reviews and how it is awful. VRBO or Verbo, pretty great. Booking.com, even better. They don't have the reach, but there are ways to be profitable. There's all different types of ways to be profitable. And guess what? The great thing about this is that people, unless everybody stops vacationing all at once, you should do pretty well for quite some time. And guess what? If everybody stops vacationing all at once because the economy's down the toilet, guess what? People still got to live somewhere. Now your short-term rental is a long-term rental. Anyhow, let's see. Hello, 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 and hello. All right. What else do we have for today? I think that's it. Unless I missed it. No, I answered everybody's questions. This is awesome. Well, everybody, thanks so much for stopping by. I appreciate it. If you like today's video, give it a thumbs up. If you're just subscribing, we talk about it's time sensitive. Again, the links that we just talked about, they're in the description. And if you call iTrust right now, they're open because they're in California. I know, I visited their offices. You're going to talk to a live person. If that's what you're into. If you're, like I said, LLC, S Corp, C Corp, any kind of business, EIN number like Jared talked about, or you want to put something in a trust for the kids and you don't have to pay so much to the god-awful government. Looking for that, links in the description. I'm going to be signing up for myself. That's it for today. Thanks much, everybody. I appreciate you. See you guys tomorrow on the